It's about 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 26, 2021, and we're heading eastbound on I-4 towards CSX's Yeoman Yard in Tampa. Hello again, rail fans, and welcome back to Central Florida. This evening, we're in search of Q442, the now nightly mixed freight train out of Tampa to Waycross, Georgia. We came out today expecting to see a rebuilt CM44 in shiny YN3 paint, but as our luck would have it, that engine was already past Dade City, and because of its speed, there was no way we could catch up to it. Instead, we landed down at 78th Street in Tampa, and then quickly noticed that the head end of the train was farther down, so back on State Road 60 and onto Falkenberg Road, where our train was approaching. This is Q442, now tripling out of the yard to make his 9,000 feet of train this day. Not bad for a Tuesday night. You usually see shorter trains at the beginning of the week and on the weekends, but today 442 was an exception. The engineer is now pulling the consist out of the yard to back onto a different track where the auto racks are positioned. A sensible and commonplace operation that is infuriating for most motorists. With three big General Electric engines up front and another as a mid-train DPU, 442 was about ready to go. But first he pulls across the road, stops, and then reverses back into the yard onto the auto racks. At this point, we had decided to go back into Tampa to find any locals that were running, and there were a few, but nothing very exciting. It was until I heard O728, the designated train ID for the Tampa to Brooksville turn, that we made up our mind. This train usually runs on Tuesday nights and heads north out of Tampa to Brooksville with hoppers for Cemex. So we jumped onto I-4 and then parked in the Yummy House parking lot off of Hillsborough Avenue, a Chinese restaurant that's quite delicious. Notice the track layout here, 2 tracks for a little local line. Well, we're still actually on the Clearwater subdivision here, and this is Parker's siding. Fitting 55 cars at most, Parker is still a common spot for the dispatcher to plan a meet, usually at this time being a local to Brooksville waiting on the Autorec shuttle from Drew Park. Today there would be no meet, but a distant headlight was good news for us. Although we had run out of light, here is where we decided to chase this local all the way back home to Lutz. It's always neat to see the tracks you're always passing over to actually get used. So in no time, the gates came down, and with a relatively clean Jeep 38 in the lead, a nice crew, and 11 loaded cement hoppers, here came the Brooksville sub-local over Hillsborough Avenue in Tampa. The JF dispatcher had given O728 permission through the switches at Sulphur Springs, where one of the last spring switches in Florida still reside. The number 1 main on this line is always set for movement on the busier Clearwater sub, but because this switch is set for northbounds, 728 would have to stop and line the switch manually, which would give us more than enough time to jump on 275 and pull in onto Fletcher Avenue. Looking down the tracks, this is where the old Now Whitney yard used to reside. Now it's only a switch that leads to 2 customers that aren't going to get switched this evening. In a few minutes, 728 was rolling again, but because of this surplus of crossings here, he'd only be going around 15 miles per hour. Jumping into the car before the gates are up is a great way to get in front of traffic to intercept the train again, and that's what we've done here. Jumping over to Skipper Road, the train is again approaching. This is the spot that last November we documented this SD40-2, leading a tie train that was destined for Brooksville and the CSX yard there. Back to present day, Engine 2051's cheerful horn is waking up the neighborhoods of North Point, University, and Loops. Driving northbound on Nebraska Avenue, the train has beat us to Bears Avenue, but we have a better shot in mind. Driving now onto US 41, we're pulling into Lakeside Drive, where we have a surfeit of time to set up for 728 as he does a very brief portion of street running. Here he will cross from the east to west side of US 41, just as he enters Lutz. Now, this is the reason I've been wanting to do a dedicated chase to this guy. Lutz, Florida is my hometown, and although it's getting more traffic, there still are those silent and peaceful moments in between this bustling 3-lane road. Listen to when all the cars are stopped. The loud horn of 2051 combined with the quiet of twilight and a few flat-walled buildings make this shot absolutely perfect. The echo of the horn, the squeal of the rails, and the rumbling of a 1970s era Jeep sums it up for me. Well, someone's in a hurry. We'd have one last shot in mind before we'd call it a night. Pacing 728 on US 41, we'd beat him to State Road 54, and then pull into Tibbetts Lumber. Here's a customer that not only gets switched weekly, but also an industry that I modeled on my CSX Odessa sub layout. The parking lot's stunning LED lights would definitely make this shot well lit, and well, not so yellow. My new railfan friend Steven Massa would have the same idea as us, and that's him on the right side of the screen. After Lutz, 728 would only have 2 crossings in the next 5 miles, so he notched up and was rolling now. Here at Tibbetts, we'd say farewell to O728 and end our 20-mile chase of the elusive Brooksville local. I hope you enjoyed this local chase, and I thank you for watching. But until we meet again on the High Iron, this is Christian from Multicolor Films. End of transmission.